Well, the prospects for a better America certainly brighter after those results on Tuesday, and you got to be pleased about the Palin endorsed candidates. I mean, what a great night for candidates who were endorsed by Sarah Palin, whether it was on the congressional level, the gubernatorial level, attorneys general that won, and also the important Senate races, and Palin had a hand in that, and now Senate control going over to the GOP, and she, of course, endorsed Joni Ernst and others for Senate, and they came out on top. So, Sarah Palin's never been afraid to jump into a race and endorse people. She's not about saying, I'm going to pick a winner. Anyone can do that. You can go into a conservative district and pick the conservative, or a liberal district and pick the liberal. She picks who the best person would be. Sometimes they win, sometimes they lose. Sometimes they lose, but they get their name out there. Sometimes they force a runoff. I mean, she walks away with it with her head high because she always endorses the best candidate. But on this night, the winning percentage was there too. How happy are you about that all of these Palin candidates on so many levels won, and won big on Tuesday?
I'm very happy about it. What I'm not happy about is I know from past experience, and you know this too, that she will never get the credit that she deserves for that. As we saw with that kind of kooky Cavuto interview. He's a good man. He's an honest man, and he has a good heart. But he kind of didn't really understand all that went into the victory on Tuesday night. We're going back a whole year. We're going back to times when there were people just Googling these potential candidates for support and vetting them on their own. We're going back a year. This takes a long time. And I wouldn't expect him to understand that process because, he's there in this, rather large entity, that is Fox News, that we are very thankful for. Without them, we would be North Korea. But, I think in that bubble there, he probably doesn't understand the grassroots approach and how it works, and how, Sarah Palin and her team are rather small when you think about other leaders, Newt Gingrich and Romney and them. They have these huge staffs, and like she likes to joke about, many times her quote entourage is Willow. So I don't think he really gets that there's so much work that has been done for the last year to make this happen. But I am happy that the candidates got in there, and we're going to have to keep an eye on them because as we've learned from experience, we sent a bunch of people in 2010, and some of them did not vote and perhaps behave the way that we expected them to vote and behave because of what they told us on the campaign trail. And it's a very great time in America that this has happened, because the fact that we're expecting them to vote and behave the way they speak on the campaign trail, this is a new concept. You go back a decade, and people, that was a joke. They said, oh, well, that was on the campaign. But, to most people, to most Americans, we don't think it's a joke. We think it's serious. If you tell us this is your conviction, this is your worldview, this is what you believe in, we expect you, when you get to D.C., to uphold that. We don't like having the wool pulled over our eyes. We don't like that anymore. And so just the fact that now that we send them there, we do take a look at if their rhetoric during the campaign matches their voting and behavior in D.C. I think that alone is a great thing. But yes, now we have to, keep an eye on them and make sure, that they're doing what they told us they're going to do, because we did a lot for them. They wouldn't be there without us. It wasn't the architects of the world that made this happen. This was the people who worked for love of country instead of money who made this happen. This was the people thinking good thoughts, praying, doing what they could for any candidate, spending $5, even less than $5, and maybe doing without a frozen pizza that week in order to do that. Those are the people who made Tuesday night happen, not the architects and those in that bubble in D.C.
Yeah, you're right, Thomas. And Sarah Palin certainly giving that stark warning to Republicans that they better do their job now that they're in there. Real quick on the Cavuto situation for people who may not have seen it. Basically got a little snarky with Governor Palin during an interview and tried to belittle her endorsements, insinuating that perhaps they weren't doing too well. I don't know what he's looking at. He mentioned Rob Maness, one of the very few losses. But, Maness was an underdog. We knew that from the beginning. Palin got behind him anyway. A runoff was forced in Louisiana, so I'm not so sure that was not a victory in many ways. And then he mentions Georgia, and Palin said, we didn't even endorse there. So he didn't know what he was talking about. You know what that is more than anything? I think that's just a case of not doing your homework. If you said to these guys who are talking to Governor Palin, say, name the people she endorsed this year. They may say Ernst. They may say a couple of people. They have no idea. They don't realize about the 4 attorneys general. They don't realize about, maybe Elise Stefanik. They don't know about some of the other candidates, Barry Loudermilk, that Sarah Palin has endorsed over the years. So I think that's a case of not doing your homework more than anything. So sad to see, but we see that a lot in the media today. Well, Thomas Schmitz, it's always a pleasure to have you here. And before I let you go, I know you like to talk about the behind-the-scenes stuff. You don't like to be that guy out in front all the time. But I got to ask you real quick. A little birdie mentioned to me, and I wanted to see if this is something you want to answer to, if you'd like. The California Republicans, have they talked to you at all? I hear that you might be a guy that they may be interested in for perhaps a big position, maybe the vice president of the Hollywood Congress of Republicans. Is this TMZ stuff or is this real stuff?
Well, Kevin, first off, I probably shouldn't confirm or deny that, but you know what's interesting about the local California GOP? What's interesting about the local California GOP is that it mirrors what is happening in the national GOP. There is a grassroots conservative wing within the local party, and a lot, in fact, many of the California GOP leaders are the establishment type, while the good people who are the actual party members are grassroots conservatives. And there is a strong desire among the actual members of the party to sort of repeal and replace the establishment GOP leaders with fresh and different grassroots conservative leaders. I am a member of the Hollywood Congress of Republicans, and the elections, they are in fact next month. However, I was just informed about a very interesting rules change made only a few days ago, and it's a bit confusing. I'm not really even sure if I am now eligible to be taxed for vice president at this time. But putting the timing of the rules change aside, Kevin, I promise that I will always do what I think is the best thing for the country and my family and for myself with my skills, my special skills and my interests and my approach, may be it controversial at times to my critics and delightful at times to my supporters, but I will always do what I feel is best for my family, my country, and myself. But yeah, there is some very interesting stuff going on in the local California GOP, and some of the conservative wing of the California GOP is looking to replace many of the more establishment-type leaders within the local California GOP.
All right, Thomas. Well, listen, you do a great job with everything. We always have so much to talk about, and we'll have to have you on again at another time because we could go on and on, that's for sure. But a big night for Sarah Palin, a big night for American Grizzlies, and a big night for the country, most importantly, this past Tuesday. Thomas Schmitz, head honcho at AGU, American Grizzlies United. Thank you, sir, for being here. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you so much, Kevin, and thank you for all you did this election cycle. Thank you so much.
For more on all the great things Thomas and AGU are doing, visit AmericanGrizzlies.com. That's AmericanGrizzlies.com. After the big night on Tuesday, Governor Palin took to social media to congratulate several of the winning candidates. She posted pictures of Ernst, Scott, and others and wished them well after their big wins. Later in the week, Palin also wished a big happy birthday to the Reverend Billy Graham. The beloved evangelist turned 96 this past weekend. To see any of the governor's posts in their entirety, visit Sarah Palin's Facebook page, follow her on Twitter at Sarah Palin USA, and visit SarahPalinChannel.com.